Good evening, sir. You are welcome to Newsflow TV 247. You can like our video, share, and comment. Yesterday was our independence, and I'm really right if I say happy independence, no matter what.
Well, happy independence.
But let me start with some people even thought that maybe white people they don't colonize us enough. Maybe we have not been trained or learned enough before we secure independence. They usually cite South Africa that white people, they colonized South Africa for a long time. Maybe that's why South Africa is more developed. Do you agree with them?
I don't because
me too. I don't agree with them.
Because if you talk about South Africa that had a long, in fact their own is even went beyond colonization. It's apartheid.
Apartheid.
Not even
not colonization.
Yes. But if you look at other countries that were also colonized and got independence, and you see how they are doing. For example, Singapore.
Singapore got colonized.
Singapore was colonized by the same Britain, and Singapore got their independence in 1963. 1963. In fact, if any country should not succeed as a nation, it should be Singapore. Why do I say that? When the British came, Nigeria, the different nations of Nigeria were already existing. The Yoruba nations, the Igbo nations, the Hausa nations, the different nations of Nigeria. Though we were not existing as Nigeria, but we were already existing. That we already have our system of government that was even superior to many European systems then. Singapore did not even exist as a nation. When the British got there, the place was just like a natural harbor. It's just a place where they saw that sheep could birth, and they saw it as an opportunity, as a place where they could distribute their goods to the nations of Central and Southern Asia. As at that time, there were only about 120 huts there. And these huts were owned by Chinese fishermen who will come from mainland China to fish around that area. And they usually have a place that they will bath their boats, bring out their fish, sort them out and all of that, rest before they now finally go back to their places. So that was the condition
of Singapore,
of that place. It's just a city. That was the condition of that place when the British explorer got there and hosted the British flag. So it is from that 120 huts that they now began to build the place. So people from China, people from India, people from Malaysia now started coming because there was job there. Because the place became a port. So the British built a port there. So when their ship will come from Britain, it will berth there. They will unload. So it's from there they now started distributing, because it's like central. They started distributing. So that's how Singapore began to grow. That's how it now became from 120 huts, it became a town. It became a city, to the point that by the time the British were leaving in 1963, the population had risen to about 1.5 million.
5 million.
You understand? And if you look at Singapore now, the people that are there is no Aboriginal Singaporean. The people that are Singaporeans now, they are about 65% Chinese, then about 25% Malaysians, Malays, and then about 10% Indians. So those are the people that became. So if any country should not succeed, it should be Singapore. And they had no single mineral resource, no natural resource, nothing. But still, they survived. They grew. They became one of the strongest nations, even though very small.
So Nigeria as a nation got independence in 1960.
Yeah.
So what do you think is our challenge? Was it started in 1960, or what can you actually say Nigeria? When can you say, according to your own perspective, what can you say when Nigeria problem started? Because you were told that Nigeria was okay before and then.
To me, Nigeria's problem started with the coup of 1966. Why do I say that?
Okay.
When Nigeria became independent, we had 3 regions. Now, the British recognized the fact that these people, even after the amalgamation of 1914, they recognized that these people, they are not exactly the same people. They are different, one from another. And that was why what they did was they brought indirect rule. And that indirect rule, the principle of indirect rule is the British, they will use the existing system in that land. They will bring it under their own rule, and continue to rule the people through your own
system of government.
Exactly what they are already used to. So at the time we got independence, we had 3 regions and the colony of Lagos as separate entities under the same country. And each of them was developing at its own pace. But there was what I could call a healthy rivalry. Because when you see if you are the leader of a region and you see what another leader is doing in his own region,
your counterpart,
you want to do it.
That would motivate you.
For instance, the first skyscraper in this country was built in Ibadan. The Cocoa House. Is still standing. They had a meeting in Ibadan. Ahmadu Bello saw that building, and it was like, wow, I want to build this. Then I'm going to build something like that. And he went to Kaduna and he built the place they call it Sense Storage. I know the building. When I was working in Kaduna, it's along Ahmadu Bello way in Kaduna. You understand? So that was a kind of healthy rivalry that was going on. Even though at the federal level there have been some misgivings and all of that, but the region, the major governance that affects people was going on at the grassroots level, at the regional level. Now, every region had control over its resources, which is one of the major problems we now eventually had. Every region had control over its resources. At that time, it was mostly agriculture. In the southwest, there was cocoa, there was rubber. I mean, in the western region, not the present southwest, the western region. Because the western region of that time extended as far as Benin and Asaba. So, in that part, there was abundance of rubber. Coming towards the Jebu side, rubber. Then the rest of the southwest, there was abundance of cocoa and also cotton. Now, in the southeast, there was palm oil, which was a major commodity that the Europeans, were buying.
I'm looking for.
Yes, and in the north, they had cotton and they had groundnuts. Those were the days of groundnut pyramids. So every region was controlling its resources, and they were now giving a percentage to the federal government in Lagos. So we were developing. So that was why Awolowo at that time, he saw the importance of education. He decided to make primary education free all over the western region. So every one of them was implementing what they thought was best
for them.
But the moment the military took over in January 15, 1966. The then head of state, Major General Rossi, wrote a decree abolishing the regions.
And make decree of unification.
The decree of unification brought everything under the federal government. That was when we began
to have issues.
That was when the issue. And every subsequent government was now compounding the issue. You know, now it was there for only 6 months. Another coup happened. He was killed. Gowon became head of state. Gowon was young. He was inexperienced, and he did what he thought was best. But it was during the Gowon regime that oil was discovered. That was the time that money started coming in, and that was the time that we began to neglect agriculture. Agriculture was relegated, and the money was so much that it was said to have made a statement that Nigeria's problem is not money, but how
to spend it. Too much money.
Udoji, I think we are talking about that earlier. Udoji war, you know, then importation on a high scale. So instead of using that excess money to pump it into infrastructure, to pump it into manufacturing and all of that, we became a mass importer of goods.
And we are spending money recklessly.
And because oil just dig the place and the oil comes out, they don't have to do too much to get oil, as much as they will do to get money in agriculture.
So now with this analysis, can we say the newly regional system of government that people are trying to, especially this administration, try to reintroduce, do you think it can solve Nigeria issue?
I will want to say it will help. It will help, but it may not totally solve it.
Solve all the problem.
And it may not be as fast as people expect. Which I always say is that people should always learn to moderate their expectations. So it will begin to expect that the moment the regional government is given, then
everything we just
everything, it is not going to happen. Then secondly, the dynamics are a little bit different now. For instance, the Western region, the headquarters was in Ibadan. We had only one premier and one governor who was ceremonial. But the premier was the head of government. But now, that same Western region is now 6 states. 6 states with governors. 6 states with their own legislature, their own executive, their own judiciary. So it is not going to be as easy as it was when they were just a single entity.
That was one of my fear. That are they going to scrabble the whole state?
It is not going to be that simple. It is not going to be that simple. And secondly, we have 6 geopolitical zones now. If each of those geopolitical zones become a regional entity, it is not all of them that are homogeneous. For instance, Southwest, we may not have so much problem because we are all Yorubas. Southeast, they are all Igbos.
Yes.
But go to South, for instance, the Urhobos are there, the Edos are there, the Shekiris are there, the Ijos are there, the Efiks are there, the Ibibios are there, the Calabaris are there. So they have many tribes. So this kind of distrust that has built all over the years among the different tribes, it will not be very easy to just smoothing over, you know, like that. Then if you go to North Central, the same thing.
Same thing.
In North Central, they have a plethora of tribes, and the fear of one dominating the other
Will come up.
will begin to come up. But all the same, I believe that it will help. But reverting to regional government is not enough. What we really need is decentralization of
Power.
resources. If you give them that regional power, then we have to go further by allowing them to tap the resources
in their
that
domain
region and give a certain percentage to the
to the
federal
federal
government.
government. That's the real regionalism.
Look, that is the key.
So we can even achieve that one without do regionalism. We can say states can as it is now say tap your resources, then contribute.
Yes, state can do it, but if we do it on a regional basis, it may have a better impact. What do I mean?
Okay.
Let's look at the Southwest.
Okay.
We can plan a development program that will cut across the entire region. From Ondo, Ekiti, Osun, Oyo, Ogun, Lagos, we go around like that. Let me give you an example. Now, at the beginning of this dispensation, I mean this